So everyone that's just joining, I'm just reviewing the itinerary for today. We're going to go over some prompt engineering information, sending the AI agent data to another platform like Zapier or GHL or MakeCom. And then we're going to go over a Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat, and then we'll get to those questions at the end of the meeting. Perfect. Hey, Tim.
Hey.
All righty. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen real quick and showing some of these prompt engineering examples. I'm also going to put links to all three of these examples in the chat so you can save these. So when creating an AI agent, one of the most important things, as many of you might have figured out by now, is how to create a base system prompt that is customized to the business that you're selling these AI agents to. And so it can be kind of difficult, or it might be a little confusing if you're not familiar with how to create prompts or write prompts. And so information that I'm going to share right here is information to help you write these prompts better, easier, faster, etc. So I'm going to post this into the chat right here, and then I'm going to share my screen. And so there's actually three levels of examples that I'm going to show here, and I'm actually going to show the level 3, the most intense example first, because this is the one that overwhelms a lot of people. And this is the examples that OpenAI is actually giving us inside of their, what they like to call their cookbook or their prompt engineering guide. And there's a lot of information in here, and it can be kind of confusing if you're not familiar with their terminology or whatever it may be, but all of it is essentially the same information as in level 2. Level 2 is the documentation inside Stammer that we've basically taken all of these, kind of large topics and tried to consolidate it as much as possible into this simple tutorial that shows you several different items that you want to consider when writing a base system prompt. And finally, the first level of this is a nice image or graphic that I saw that shows basically all of these concepts, but in one graphic or image. So this idea of having a role or a task in a format, tree of thought, prompt chaining, these are all concepts that are mentioned by OpenAI in their documentation. And they're in a way mentioned by our documentation over here that's a little bit more simplified. And then you can kind of get an idea on a higher level view of kind of what all this stuff means and how it can work within your context of what you're trying to do. Tim, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that's great.
Perfect. So there will be links down below. And for everyone just joining, hello, and thanks for joining. We're just going over some prompt engineering information, reviewing how the differences of how it might be super confusing on OpenAI, but we've tried to simplify it with our documentation, and then also with this nice graphic that I found on Twitter recently as well. Awesome. So next up, we're going to go over an example of sending some data via an AI agent webhook. Now, this is a topic that a lot of people might have some confusion over. So we're going to provide just a quick little beginner tutorial of kind of how webhooks work and what they are and what they mean and all that. So essentially, a webhook is a URL that you can send data to. That's what a webhook is. In the context of an agent and collecting user data from a conversation. So if, for example, if we have a user and we are building an AI agent and they're having a conversation with each other, we have the ability to create questions that the AI agent can ask. For example, what is your email address? And then when the user has that conversation and answers that question, the AI agent can extract that data from the conversation and then attribute it to a value like email address or first name or phone number, or pretty much any other question that you want to create that can be custom, because you can add in pretty much any field that you want, create a custom field here. So what happens is now this data is stored in the AI agent, and that is cool, but not super useful because it's not updating a CRM or anything like that. So how do we make that connection? And that's where these webhooks come into place. It allows for a platform to create a URL that we can send data to. And so the 3 simplified steps of how to set up a webhook to send data from an AI agent to that webhook is we need to go to the platform that we want to send the data to create a new webhook. And like I mentioned before, that could be GHL, Zapier, Make, whatever. And I'm going to show how to do this very quickly with GHL and Zapier, and then Tim's going to show how to do it with Make really quickly. We're going to paste the webhook into the AI agent's settings, and you can find that either on the leads or the scheduling tab, and it's going to be in this setting right here, lead collection webhook URL. And when you click enable this, there's going to be a box here that says lead collection webhook URL. And this is the area that we're going to paste in the webhook that we have created on the other platform. Once we save that, we can send data to this webhook, and that webhook is going to receive the data. And then platform is going to be able to take that data and then do whatever that platform can do with that data. So for example, if we want to send this custom contact data to a GHL automation, the way that we would do that is we would create a new workflow automation. And as the trigger, we would have an inbound webhook. And this is going to create the webhook URL that we are going to send the data to. So we would take this URL right here, and then we could go into a AI agent like this, and we just paste in the URL right here. I click save. It says saved. Now we can send some test data to it to enable it to work. So we can click test webhook, and that's going to send data to this platform over here. So you can see we have a new piece of data that just came in. And now you can see that there's an example of a contact or a phone number, whatever it may be. So now if we save this within GHL, we have the ability to update information based off of that custom data. So now if we're trying to update the fields, we could select email, and then we could select from the inbound webhook their email. And so when someone enters in an email in a conversation on this agent, now this GHL automation will be able to automatically pick up that email. So the use case for this is extremely useful because you can basically set up a connection or an automation within your client's CRM. So that way the contact data is being updated, and you can fire off other that you might want to set up based off of warm email sequences or further text message sequences if you're collecting phone number or whatever it may be. And the parallel with Zapier is extremely simple. Select webhooks by Zapier, catch a hook, and then here's the URL. So you take this URL and do the same exact thing. You're going to paste it in here and do the same thing. Any questions on that real quick in general? I know Tim's going to have a demo of MakeCom here in a second. So cool. All right, Tim, ready to go?
Yeah, let me go ahead. If you can stop sharing. Okay, perfect. Okay. And so with make.com, the thing we discovered, because we haven't used Make a ton actually, but I just set it up this morning. And what you actually have to do is, for some reason, MakeCom has trouble parsing the data structure that we send to it, right? Normally, it seems like you can just click on this and say determine data structure, and it will just work, right? But for some reason, it's having trouble with the data structure that we send that the other platforms have no problem with. But that's fine. There is a workaround. What I did initially, and all this is, don't worry, because all this is going to be in the tutorial video step by step that I'm going to be creating today. But what I did initially was just create a basic webhook in MakeCom, and I defined no data structure, right? Literally just had this webhook here. Then what I did in order to kind of test that the data was getting to the webhook, I came to the webhook section. You can see these other ones I was creating. Here's the most recent one. And then you go to the logs, okay? And you're going to want to look in the logs here. And when you send the initial request successfully from Stammer, you're going to want to click on detail, okay? And then you're going to want to go down to where it has the information. So the JSON data, basically, right? The body of the JSON. And you're going to want to copy this, okay? And I won't include this in the video, so don't worry. We'll also have a blog post on this. But then what I did is, once I had this exact data format that comes from Stammer, and you'll eventually, I mean by tomorrow, you should be able to just send the test webhook from Stammer. But we noticed one little mistake we actually made today, which is this says lead in the test webhook that gets sent out, and it should say lead data. But anyway, you can do it this way until tomorrow. Copy this, then you go back to your scenario, is actually what they call their flows here. Get back into it, and you are going to go to here. And what we're going to do is manually kind of define the data structure that this webhook should accept. So you can click on edit. Okay. I'm going to try carefully not to change anything. You're going to click on advanced settings, and then you'll go through a process here when you click add, where you will paste in that information that I just copied. And once you do that, it completely reads it just fine. It's able to determine the data structure. And what that will allow you to do, let me cancel this. I've connected our Slack, and then these variables will show up automatically in here, and you can just input them into your Slack message properly. There is other ways to kind of extract this data in a more difficult way, but this works perfectly good. It makes it the actual variables you can view in their user interface. Okay, now let's go ahead and just see it working. Let's go ahead and do this demo.
So you have to actually create the webhook in that other interface then inside Make, rather than inside where you make the connection or the automation.
Yeah, and actually, Ross, it'll show up. So you can create it in that scenario, but in order to debug what gets sent to the webhook, you do have to go to that webhook area and kind of view it. Okay, so we're just going to ask it what it's going to do. It's going to ask for the email.
Make is just confusing, it seems like, inherently.
It's a bit more confusing. It'd be nice if it just automatically parsed that data, which is not a complex data structure. So I'm not sure why. We'll say 1 year ago. And then we're going to look at our Slack, and it should be posting to the Slack channel. We'll just say YouTube here. Okay, let's go to the make test Slack channel. And there we go, 11:14 PST. We have the fields populating here. And of course, obviously, you could send it and do with it whatever you wanted to do here. You don't have to send it to Slack. Another thing I want to mention that is very, very helpful for debugging these webhook issues is the site.site. This will, of course, be in the video and the blog post as well, but this can be very helpful for debugging webhook issues. We use it all the time. Okay, any questions regarding MakeCom or setting up these webhooks?
Hi, Sean here. I think we chat on the Discord. So the question here is that I understand that if we set up 3 parameters, so what if we only fill in 2 of them? Will the web be triggered? It has to be 3 parameters be fully filled, then it be triggered.
It can be as many as you want.
No, okay. In the sense is that when I set up 3, for example, email, name, and mobile number, then maybe I only ask 2 of the questions. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So I can give my scenario. What happened is that I have 2 lead generation process. So I set up as many as I have, example 5 of them. Flow A will take in only answer 3, and then flow B based on the question you understand. So, but then because I call the store lead function and I see that it's being stored inside the lead table, it's being stored inside, and the function is called, the hook is not being triggered. Then in my testing, I mean, we have conversation, so I was testing it. If I answer all 5 of them, the webhook will be triggered. But if I answer only 3, it will not be. So just is it so-called exception that you put inside to make sure why is answered, then you send.
Yeah, no. So it all depends on what you tell the agent in your prompt, right? And if you are literally telling it inside your prompt to collect all this information and then call this function, then that's exactly what it's going to do, right? So you can look at this prompt here to see kind of how we're doing it.
No, yeah, okay. So example in this case, okay, you see you put requirement fields, right? So upon looking at I understand that actually calling email and maybe when do you start your agency. So what I did, I manually put these 2 fields and I skip how do you hear from Stammer.ai. Okay, so the prompt will ask me the 2 questions, email and start agency, and then it actually execute that function. So and when you view under view collect leads, you will see the prompt inside, except that email and when you start it's being filled, except that it doesn't fill the where do you hear, it's inside. But the lead collection web is not being triggered.
Have you looked here? Is it getting sent?
It's not inside. It's not being sent. And I'm using the test site that you put, the webhook.site that you passed me. So I was testing that also. Only when 3 ought to be sent.
Yeah, you may want to start with this example that I'm going to use in the tutorial, because obviously this works because you just saw it working, and it must need to do with your prompt.
I tried with examples. Okay, never mind. You can put it offline. I reply you back. So then we can bring this forward from there.
Yeah, it's good.
Discussion here. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Sounds good. I'll look for
it. On the fan note is yours is working fine. Just that I'm trying to use it differently on the fan note.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, we've only tested these use cases, but it should be possible to modify it as long as you keep the principles in mind.
So no worries. Just with this, no worries.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. I'm Parth. So I have the same doubt what Sion just said, that I'm storing my lead data in Airtable. So webhook is not triggered. All the fields in the lead generation are not filled, like name, phone number, and email address. If one of them missing, the webhook is not triggered. And the second thing, I've mailed you. I got the reply, but still, like I have connected my Google Calendar to scheduling, and I'm not able to disconnect my Google Calendar, and it pop-ups the 405.
Got it. Okay.
Do you have a ticket submitted for that?
Yeah, I made this issue on mail. I made this issue.
Okay. You made an issue? Is that right?
No, I mailed it to you only. Timothy, you replied to that mail also. You said we are working on, but I just had a thought, like, is there any kind of solution for temporary? I disconnect my this Google account and connect another account to Google Calendar.
Got it. Yeah, we can manually disconnect it. It's probably best to open a ticket, just because that is how we track kind of these things getting solved. It's best not to email me individually, but that said, I'll take a look at my email and we can get this manually disconnected.
Yeah, actually I'm manually. Okay, from your side.
Yes, from our side.
Okay,
great.
Any other questions?
I have a couple, if I could.
Hey, Dwayne.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. I did a scrape of a website, and it showed that there were 39 URLs that were found, but only 8 were actually then showing up in the backend, that were crawled. And so obviously I know, at least just subtracting the former from the latter, or the latter from the former, there's 21 pages that were missing. Is there any way to see what pages weren't picked up?
No, not unless you do it kind of manually as a human.
Okay.
Yep.
Was it a .com or was it a weird?
No, it was in fact, I'll just give it to you. It's Flavia Leal, FLAVIALEAL.com.
Can you put that into the chat?
Sure.
Just so
Sure.
What it could be, just thinking here, is that, I mean, what it most likely is the content type of those pages is probably not what you think they are. They may not be valid pages.
Well, what's kind of weird is I knew a particular page I was looking for because I had been crawling around on her site, so to speak, looking there manually, and found a particular page that had information that the chatbot was saying, I'm not sure. I thought, well, heck, I'm looking at this page, so you should know this answer. So I found, looked at that page. I added that page manually. So I went into the knowledge base or whatever you call it, and I apologize for not knowing all the terminology right now. But I added it manually. So just that page I added to knowledge base, and as a supplement, an individual single URL, and then it was able to answer those questions.
Got it. So yeah, that total URLs discovered, I wouldn't pay too much attention to that in some ways. That is literally what it means, how many URLs it's discovered that are within that domain. However, some of those URLs may not be crawlable, right? Their content type could be image or God knows what else it could be.
Well, so the example that I was just referring to is if you click on this page opens just fine. And it has the content that I needed that I had asked a question about because I was specifically looking for something from this page as a really good example. The Flavia in the chat, I put it in there just now.
Barber.
Oh, so if you go toward the end, let's see if it's actually in the list. I added it manually.
Number 6.
It's right here. It's number 6. So we should just be able to select it. In fact, actually, we can see what's on that page now. So yeah, here we go.
And that was the one that I added manually after the fact. Now, what's interesting, obviously, I'm not looking at my dashboard. So I'm like, hey, it's not trained. It trained on my end. So obviously, you're looking at your end. But it picked up that information and it worked fine thereafter. But I thought it'd be kind of nice to have a list of, because I can't be the only one that looks at it and goes, hey, you said 39 pages. You only found 8. What's going on with the other 20? Would just be a nice little feature that would say, hey, here's ones we didn't find, or here's why, whatever.
So the 39 that you saw, that was from the scraper showing you that number, right?
At the very start, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I see how to resolve this, Tim.
Okay. Another question that I have is, will in the various models or modules, whatever you want to call it, that you can opt for, like ChatGPT 4o, whatever, are you ever going to add something from Claude, for example?
Absolutely.
Yes, okay. Definitely.
Yeah. And another question about Claude. Claude outputs in, if you want to save whatever you have in Claude, it saves to the .md, the markup down, whatever that stands for, MD file extension. Yeah. Markup, markdown. And so in order to get it then into Stammer, what I have to do is either just convert it into, .txt or convert it to, PDF or whatever. Are you considering, since Claude really seems to be popular and I do like it and use it a lot, are you ever considering adding just the ability to just pull that straight into Stammer?
Oh, I see. Okay. So you mean allow files to be loaded?
Yes,
I'm sorry. Okay. Yes. And that's right. I forgot that other people have asked for that. Yes, we will get that done. We will allow .md files as well. But out of curiosity, what exactly are you doing that you're taking input from Claude that's generating?
Here's for an example. In the School of Beauty world, or the world of beauty schools, whatever you want to call it, I wanted to add a number of things that were specific to questions that people might have related to why they want to join the beauty world, for example. So I went to Claude and I basically asked it, okay, as a job researching assistant, tell me the top 10 reasons that somebody right now would want to be in the beauty school world. Why would they want to join? And it came up with some great stuff. And then I said, okay, drill down even farther, give me a couple of paragraphs on each one. Then I asked for demographics of various groups, because what do I know about, the beauty culture? Obviously, I don't need it. But, what do I know about that? I know nothing about it. So I asked, okay, what are the top 5 demographics that are in this, that go to trade school to learn the beauty industry? Came up with some great stuff. And then I said, can you rewrite all 10 of these questions or 10 of these best reasons to join from those people's points of view, from those demographics? And it nailed those as well. Now, the problem that I have still, even after all that, and I was really excited about that, but I'm like, how do I politely ask somebody, so are you, senior citizen who's also part of the LGBT community? Because I got a set of reasons for you, but it even came up with some great ways to integrate that as well. So pulling that stuff in as a document and then training it on that really provided some neat stuff, because then as soon as I did that, I asked questions related to that. And sure enough, obviously I'm preaching to the choir, but sure enough, it picked that stuff up immediately and spit that stuff out. It was really pretty sweet.
I think that's a great use case.
And that working off of that's adjacent to one of the tips that we used to give out a lot, which is you could go, and unfortunately Claude still doesn't have it yet, but they'll probably have internet browsing soon. But if you just go to ChatGPT and enter in the website URL of your client that you want to build the chatbot for, and then just say, hey, turn this website into a list of QA pairs, that is a really good start to like getting the specifics of what they want rather than just scraping their website. And in some cases, you can do both, scraping the website so it gets the actual raw data, but then also including this more customized, or excuse me, personalized QA data that might be more attuned to someone's age, demographic, location, whatever it may be. So
yeah, let me share my screen. So you can literally, I mean, I literally just put in what Ross just said. It actually worked perfectly. So
perfect.
What was the prompt that you used just now?
You could probably make a much better one.
No, even that as a start, that's perfect.
Yeah. So then you would basically take these Q&As and paste them into the Q&A section of the, make it as a CSV.
Code box is a little easier to copy and paste, not a big deal, but yeah, you can also do this if you need it in a better format. But we'll just take this because it may not include.
See if you can make it into a CSV.
I wouldn't want it to be a CSV, right? More like a text file.
Well, to upload
uploading
to the QA.
Oh, I bet it can. Let's see.
I bet you can.
Would have to use the analysis, but let's see. ESV. Yeah, it's using the analysis API now.
So this is using the code interpreter right now, which is in beta for API. So once that's out of beta from OpenAI, that'll be something that we add into where it can do stuff like this, analyze data and create.
And then you could just literally use this to upload into the Q&A section here. Of course, we'd have to give it a format. I just realized we may have to adjust.
It might be formatted correctly. See if it works. Just try uploading it too.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Come on, choose file. Flavia, there we go. Upload. I forgot that okay.
That's sweet. That's nice.
Works perfectly. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
No, I like that a lot. Thank you.
And soon we're going to have the ability to download your answers, your Q&A as well. We realized we needed that the other day.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've thought of is, I know how lazy I am, and I know other people out there who work for other people are even lazier. So I figure if I have to tell people, keep going back to your dashboard to see the questions that weren't answered, or what were the questions that should have been answered, or how you should have answered them. I figure if I don't have to tell them any of that, and then on our end, just send them maybe once a week, here's some stuff that I'd like you to just weigh in on, look at these things, type in your answers or whatever, update it, and then just send it back to me, because I like the, done for you where I earn my keep by doing that stuff. So that's kind of my thinking on that. So I would like the idea or the ability to export.
Oh, yeah, sounds good.
And we'll have the ability to basically export that and send all that relative conversation data automatically via webhook or email to either you or the client or both. So that process of you downloading and sending and receiving can all be automated through the platform as well.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cool. Well, awesome. If there's any last questions anybody has, all righty. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks guys. See ya.
Thank you.